So our case study is actually based in the country of Kosovo. Kosovo is a beautiful country located in the Balkan regions. It is a very mountainous area. Kosovo is actually a very young country. In the early 2000s, they gained their independence from Serbia. Whenever Kosovo was at war with Serbia and they infiltrated the land, America actually stepped in to help free Kosovo from the war. So they're actually very fond and welcoming of Americans. Kosovo actually, in their capital, have a statue of Bill Clinton because he was the president whenever they helped to free Kosovo from the war. Kosovo is a predominantly Muslim country, so sharing the gospel there is a very difficult and hard task. Kosovo is also a very honor, shame driven culture. And so a lot of those things have affected the way that IMB missionaries and other missionary workers try to contextualize and share the gospel with people in the country of Kosovo. Currently, our case study deals with two IMB missionaries that go by the name of Dave and Melissa George. Dave and Melissa have been in Kosovo for about 5 years and have just recently welcomed their first convert that goes by the name of Diamant. Diamant has been being discipled by Dave and by Melissa, and is currently learning how to share his faith with other people in the country of Kosovo. One of the issues that they're currently facing is that Diamant's family have caught wind of his conversion and have actually arranged for Diamant to be a part of a marriage that he does not want to be a part of. And this marriage will require him to actually move to another country. And so Diamant has shared this information with the IMB workers there in Kosovo, and they're just trying to think through different solutions and ways that they can help guide and lead Diamant to make the right decision. Part of this is difficult for the workers because one of their main strategies has been to target the younger generation in Kosovo, because whenever Serbia came in, they killed off a majority of the Kosovar population. And so about 70% of Kosovo's population is under the age of 30. And so Dave and Melissa's strategy has been to reach the younger generation in order to see a cultural shift toward Christianity years down the road. And so there's just a lot of tension and difficulty with the situation presented by Diamant's parents, and they're just trying to think through ways to counsel Diamant and what that looks like for the workers there, and them having to wait 5 years before they actually see their first convert, and then actually have that pulled away from them has been a very difficult challenge for them.
So since Diamant is the only Christian that he knows of in his area, among his people, he wants to stay and be a witness for Christ among them. But he doesn't know if that's really even an option. As we consider how to advise Diamant, we must consider more than just the cultural practice of arranged marriages, but also the larger issue that this is a very honor-shame driven society. Now, in honor-shame driven cultures, it's difficult for people to deal with pressure from their parents in various situations. Honor-shame driven cultures tend to be collectivistic cultures where you are seen as a member of the whole group, and what you do can have an effect on the whole group and how they are viewed. Shame isn't like guilt, where you can find ways to cleanse your conscience and it's something that's just going on in the inside. Shame is something that is put on you from the outside, and it usually takes someone of higher honor to kind of take away that shame and restore your honor. And in our situation, we have to balance multiple factors that include both biblical and cultural considerations in how we advise Diamant. First, we have to consider the biblical command to honor your father and mother. Now, Diamant's parents are not trying to hide the fact that they are seeking to make this arranged marriage to get him away from the missionaries and try to get him away from this Christianity thing. So, is he required to obey their wishes when he knows that they are working directly against God? Second, we must take into account the shame honor aspect of their culture. we have to consider not only the shame that he would take on himself, but the shame he might possibly put on his parents in his situation. Now, that may or may not happen depending on their particular culture, but it very well could. But it's very possible that he's going to take shame on himself and therefore might have a hard time gaining a hearing from people in his culture as he's witnessing about Christ. Third, among the people that he lives, there are no other Christians that we know of. And so we must consider the fact that Diamant is the only Christian convert in their area after the foreign missionaries have been working there for so long. And so we certainly don't want to lose our only native Christian who can speak the gospel well into their culture and who can help us understand their culture. And last of all, we have to consider how people are going to view the missionaries if we advise him to go against his parents' wishes. Specifically, they might see the missionaries as encouraging him to go against their people's ways just for the sake of keeping their convert nearby. And it could certainly raise questions about this Christianity religion that could, whether it could even fit in their culture.
All right, everybody, it's time to look at a few of the different solutions that we've come up with to our situation. And given the difficulty of family relationship dynamics in general, we've decided to actually kind of stratify our responses from most ideal to least ideal. Just given the flexibility, the malleability of those relationships, and even the responses that we'd have to deal with. So let's jump right in. So firstly, and most ideally, the workers will encourage Diamant to pursue compromise and understanding with his parents through conversation. Fear or lack of understanding may be driving the actions of the parents, and Diamant may be granted the audience to make his appeals. This attempt actually may be met with further resistance if they view this as an increased development of rebellion. But it also may be met with compassion, that the son who they love and have invested in and respect is making his convictions known and his appeals known to them. So we would encourage him and equip him for that situation, driven by scriptures such as Matthew 5:9 and Romans 12:18, calling for peace. Secondly, if conversation ends up fruitless, the regional missionaries there with him should advocate for gracious, peaceful disobedience to the instruction of arranged marriage. Diamant should not be aggressive, but must be obedient to Christian teaching from 2 Corinthians 6:14 that talk about being unequally yoked with unbelievers and the call against that. So in full realization that this type of disobedience may actually compromise his honorable position in his family, we can emphasize scriptural truths such as Luke 14 that actually talks about familial struggle and strife that comes sometimes with following the Lord. Speaks to the true cost of discipleship. This will also display his fidelity and his commitment to the gospel of Christ, which will put on display to those around him that such dishonor is actually worth following Jesus for, and in spite of that. He and others can be held in honor by Christ, and it's his honor that chiefly and eternally matters. So even in that form of disobedience, he's going to be honoring the Lord and faithful to his Christian call. But lastly, if Diamant simply chooses not to disobey his parents in that way, the missionaries are going to use his newfound arranged marriage and even this new location as a means for gospel ministry. He should be equipped with the calls of a faithful gospel husband from examples set in Ephesians and Hosea. And even with a presumably unbelieving wife, his calls still remain the same. So the missionary should assist in further connecting him with believers and other missionaries closer to him and his new location. And even though this takes Diamant away from his disciplers, it removes him from his home and his immediate area of impact. This may actually retain some sense of familial respect and honor that will preserve the potential for gospel conversations in the future with his parents and locals. So those are the three things that we came up with in kind of the order that we'd encourage them. We know there are a lot of specifics and other things in this dynamic that is very difficult and hard to work through. But if you have any other thoughts or things that you think we should have addressed and didn't, or that we may have in discussion and not in the video, let us know. We'd be happy to discuss that with you.